Hello ma'am, hello everyone. I am Mariel Anisfin. For today, I'll be discussing to you the chapter 2, which is the chemical basis of life. So for the introduction, we should define what is chemistry. So chemistry is a scientific discipline concerned with an atomic composition of the structure of substances and the reactions they undergo. Some of the basic terms you should know with chemistry is the concept of matter. Matter is a composition of all living and non-living things, which occupies space and has mass. Mass is the amount of matter in an object and is usually being defined with the international unit of kilogram. And the next one is the weight. Weight is a gravitational force acting on an object of a given mass. So you also have elements. Elements is the simplest type of matter having unique chemical properties. Some are only present in only trace amount but are still essential for life. For example, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, calcium, potassium, and sodium. And then you have the atom, which is the smallest particle of an element, and it contains protons, electrons, and neutrons. So for the basic anatomic structure, this is how it looks like. So proton is positively charged and it is found inside the nucleus. And the second one is the electron, which is negatively charged and it is found outside the nucleus. The last one is the neutron, which is neutral and found inside the nucleus. Atomic number. Number of protons in each atom, and then you have your mass number. Mass number is the number of protons and neutrons in each atom. So take note, protons and neutrons have about the same mass compared to electrons, which have the very little mass. And you have also your protons and electrons, which have the same number in an atom. So for the chemical bonds, you have a chemical bonding, which occurs when the outermost electrons are transferred or shared between the atoms. And then of course, your ions form when an atom loses or gains electrons, so they are charged particles. There are different types of chemical bonding. The first one is the ionic bonding, where there's attraction between two opposite charged ions. So the classic example will be your table salt, wherein your sodium is positively charged and then the chloride is negatively charged. Covalent bonding is atoms share one or more pairs of electrons. For example, hydrogen molecule. Then the polar covalence bonds is unequal sharings of electrons. For example, is the water. Non-polar covalent bond is an equal sharing of electrons. Polar molecules is a molecule with asymmetrical electrical charge, have a positive end and a negative end. The non-polar molecules is a symmetrical electrical charge. Molecule form when two or more atoms chemically combine to form a structure that becomes as a independent unit, for example, water. And then a compound is a substance from the chemical combination of two or more different types of atoms, for example, your sodium chloride or ribosome. So for the different types of chemical reaction, when you say chemical reaction is a formation or breaking of chemical bonds, you should have your reactants. Reactants is the substances put into the reaction, and then of course the end result of the reaction is what you call the products. The other classification of chemical reactions include first the synthesis. This is when two or more complex products, and this is actually energy requiring. A plus B is reactants and your product will be AB. Anabolism is a collective term for all synthesis reaction that occur in the body, for example, growth and repair in the body. The second is the decomposition reactions. Reactants are broken down into smaller or less complex of products. The catabolism is a collective term for all decompositions reactions that occur in the body. For example, is the digestion of food molecules in the intestine and within the cells, breakdown of fat stores, and the metabolism is the collective term for all anabolic, and catabolic reactions. The third is the exchange reactions. It is a combination of decomposition reaction and synthesis reaction. Enzymes is a proteins that speed up reactions. Acids and bases. Acids is donate hydrogen. The pH is below 7. The example is hydrochloric acid. And then the bases, they accept hydrogen. The pH is above 7. They considered alkaline, and the example is sodium hydroxide. And neutral, the pH is equal 7. The types of molecules is inorganic molecules, substances that do not contain carbon. So like the oxygen, water, they establishing body temperature, they provide protection. The exception is your carbon dioxide. And then the organic molecules is carbon containing molecules. Major groups are the carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and the nucleic acid. The carbohydrates is the monosaccharide, simple sugar, and example is the glucose and the fructose. Disaccharides is two sugars, glucose plus fructose, it result to sucrose, and the glucose and the galactose, it result lactose. Polysaccharide is a mini sugar, it includes the starch, your grain, your vegetables, and your glycogen. Functions of carbohydrates is the short-term energy storage converted to glucose quickly, and the glucose is used to make ATP or energy. Enzymes are organic catalysts that increase the rate at which biochemical reactions proceed without the enzyme being permanently changed. Enzymes work by lowering the energy of activation, and then enzymes really help with different reactions to speed them up or fasten. The types of lipids. The first one is the saturated. It is a single covalent bonds between carbon atoms, for example, beef, pork, whole milk, and eggs. And then the second one is the unsaturated. It is a one or more covalent bonds between carbon. For example, is olive oil, fish oil, and sunflower oil.